I was sitting here waiting on you. And I was actually like, I got into like the meat of my book. Like I'm almost done. And I got right to the part where it's like, we found the mole and we're explaining how we found it. And so I was like, oh, cool. And then you rang and I was like, son of a bitch.
No, I'm invested. That's how it always works. It's a cliffhanger.
So we'll talk about Captain America in just a minute, but I wanted to ask you, you did. We both saw the SNL 50th special, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
because that was on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Yeah, I watched it last night.
Okay.
What'd you think of it?
I thought it was great. Like, it was... just a great collection of people, both current and returning cast members, and a lot of really fun stuff. Like, honestly, this season I've been struggling with Saturday Night Live. I feel like it hasn't really been that great. And then this episode, I was like, this is funny. Like, this is legit funny. So I belly laughed a number of times. And so I was satisfied.
Yeah, I felt the same. I walked away from it feeling like, all right, this was okay. Like overall, but I think that's just the thing about that show is not that it has never been good, but there's a ceiling to the quality of that show because live sketches, it's just in a week. There's only so good it can possibly be. There's a reason why my favorite sketches in that show are always the pre-recorded bits. Yep. It's just because editing timing is everything with comedy. Mm-hmm. When you take out, professional timing or professionally engineered timing, it does something.
It's also highly reliant on its cast. Yeah. And so if there's a weak link in the cast, it can really hinder what's otherwise a pretty decent story or a pretty decent sketch. And yeah, man, I'm not super in love with the current cast. They're growing on me a little bit, but like not super in love with it. So, it's just one of those things.
Yeah. But like, I think it started off strong because I remember thinking like in the early sketches, like with Black Jeopardy and stuff, I was like, wow, this is like Spider-Man No Way Home of SNL cast. Like, right. We've got people popping in that have never been on screen together. And it's like, oh, this is nuts. This is pretty cool. And you got people who are still great at it, like Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. And Eddie Murphy, and then you got like Mike Myers, who was great, but I feel like was wasted in the sketch that he was in. Yep. I would have preferred to see a Sprockets. I'm a little surprised they didn't do some Wayne's World.
Yeah. But that's the obvious. Yeah.
But I don't think Dana Carvey was there.
No.
So
I didn't see him.
Maybe that's why.
That's probably why.
But anyway, I mean, yeah. So, but logistically, every time what I liked about it was that they kept cutting, that they would show the, now maybe you don't see that. I don't know. See, because when I watch SNL, I watch the YouTube clips.
That's what I do.
This could be the editing, but I liked seeing when the sketch ended and they started standing up and moving, they started moving the stages. Yeah. I don't think they typically put that on television, but I could be wrong.
I think on occasion they do. Yeah.
Yeah. Or it's hard to miss, but,
yeah, right.
But that's always cool. Yeah. But overall, I mean, it's interesting. Like you cut to those wides and you're just like the sheer amount of like celebrities that are there, is pretty insane. And then people, who are there and like, they're jumping out of the crowd to go do their bits, or they're going back to the crowd when their bits are done. And then you have people there like Jerry Seinfeld, who's just there as an audience member.
Spielberg was there. I'm like, what are you doing there?
Just invited. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's 2.5 hours long. So it's long, but it was interesting to see.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, maybe the best thing wasn't even really a sketch, like it was, but it wasn't. It was Amy Poehler and Tina Fey's question and answer session with the audience.
Yeah.
It's like, sure, it's just a cavalcade of like, here's people in this, but like still at the same time, I was like, this is legitimately funny. And I was getting a bunch of good laughs from me.
Yeah.
And part of that sure is just like cutting to somebody and be like, oh, didn't know they were there. But also it just was well written. And I have to assume part of that is, that Tina Fey and Amy Poehler had a hand in that.
Yeah.
In shaping it. And that always makes a difference when you have I said earlier, it's rely on the cast. It is, but it's also the writers. And if the writing staff isn't up to snuff, then there you go. But like some of the like double threats who are going to act and write, like that's always a great combo. Because it feels like their voice. Like John Mulaney always writes his own sketches well.
Yeah. Well, and Jason Sudeikis was in there, and I have to imagine because I think he started as a writer, and and then Seth Meyers was there, of course, and so like it's interesting. It's I've been deep into the show in ways that I haven't been in the past lately. I don't know. It's a water cooler thing for me, I suppose.
Sure.
I think I've said before on this show, like there's always at least one sketch that I'm glad I sifted through all of them to check out each week.
Yeah.
A notable one, although this was a Lonely Island thing, was with the Charlie XCX episode, actually, strangely, was she did
all roads lead to Charlie XCX. We have to have her on the show.
Yeah, but I really liked her in general. Like her whole episode she was one of those people who I thought was great in every sketch that she was in, like Ariana Grande. But she had a song with Andy Samberg, a Lonely Island song about reporting their neighbors to the cops. And I thought that was a banger. It's just so good. So
nice.
Yeah. Good stuff. Anyway. All right. Well, there's that. I'm halfway through the Beyond Saturday Night docuseries on Peacock. So the whole second episode is about the cowbell sketch, the entire thing.
Oh, wow.
It's about that sketch. And I think the third one is about like what the week is like for the writers.
Oh, okay.
So it's a lot of like process stuff, which I really enjoy. So anyway, okay. Well, good stuff. Well, we're here tonight to talk about America. Everything's on fire. Yeah. But other than that, yes, of the Captain variety, we have Captain America, Brave New World.
You asked for me. Here I am. You want to help me? Is there anything you remember?
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States, Thaddeus Ross.
Whatever this is, Cap, be careful. What do we know?
There were 5 shooters. This was a coordinated terrorist attack, sir.
I was a wartime general. Now I'm a wartime president. Your inner circle's been compromised. Let me fix it. Watch yourself. You're not Steve Rogers. You're right. I'm not. Wait for it. We're on the brink of war. I can't trust anyone. Nothing about this feels right.
Captain America. You ever ask yourself, who's playing who?
Someone's been pulling the strings on everything.
You're under arrest?
I don't want a variable out there that I can't control.
Stop!
Captain America, caught without his wings.
You like to play dress up and blindly execute the state's orders.
Don't say I didn't warn you.
What if this is a trap?
You don't even know what this is.
Since when were they red?
You want me? Come and get me!
And I got the title right this time because I'm staring at it.
Yes. Hard to miss.
This is directed, I suppose, by Julius Ona. I'll explain what I mean by that eventually. Screenplay by Rob Edwards, Malcolm Spellman, Delon Musan, Julius Ona, and Peter Glanz. 5 writers. Always a good sign. Starring Anthony Mackie, Danny Ramirez, Shira Hayes, Carl Lumley, Joshua Rockmore, Giancarlo Esposito, and Harrison Ford, and I'm not going to name 2 other people that I almost just read. So this is technically the 4th Captain America movie, although it's different Captain America. We got Sam Wilson this time, who is now Captain America. If you I feel like you shouldn't be clicking on this if you don't know that.
Right. Yep.
But so yeah, if you watch the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series on Disney Plus, which we have also reviewed on this show, then you know that Sam Wilson is Captain America. Although you could have inferred that from watching Avengers Endgame when Steve Rogers gives him the shield and says, "Hey, it's you now, buddy." So anyways, those 2 major clues notwithstanding, the name of the film is Captain America, and Sam Wilson is shown on screen an awful lot. I wonder if there's a connection. So in this movie, I'm not sure what's happening. There's like an upcoming treaty or something with a few other countries, and then it's getting screwed up, and somebody mind controls Isaiah Bradley here, one of the original super soldiers that you would have met if you'd watched the series, and has him and others attempt an assassination. And so Captain America is trying to figure out what's up with that. Speaking of SNL, what's up with that?
Yeah.
I'm a little disappointed that wasn't in there, actually.
Yeah, that should have been there. They had Sudeikis. They could have done it.
Yeah. Thaddeus Ross is now the president, General Ross, who has been played by William Hurt in the MCU up until his death. And so now we have Harrison Ford in here to replace him. What did you think of this movie, Dustin?
Well, funny you should ask. I have notes, but I will save a majority of these for the spoiler section.
Okay.
I thought it was okay. It's less than okay. It's like whatever. It exists. It's really like a 2-star movie. I think I gave it 2.5 just because I enjoyed the performances of Mackie and Harrison Ford and another person that you didn't name earlier, so I won't either. And so yeah, I think it's not a great movie. It's not a good movie. It's not really an okay movie. But when you're in it, I wasn't angry about it. I was just kind of bored a little bit. And so I think what it boils down to is like Sam's Captain America deserved better than this film. And we, the audience, deserved a better film. I don't know what happened. Like, obviously so much has been said about the reshoots like crafting this in editing and in post-production. I don't understand it. Like, I don't know why that it happened. I don't truly know if anybody really knows why they signed off on a script, shot a script, it didn't work. Now we go back to the drawing board and then we do the process again and go back to the drawing board again. I don't understand that. If the script wasn't strong enough the first time, then it shouldn't have been made. And if it wasn't a script problem, but was maybe a direction problem, you don't solve a direction problem by throwing out the script. So I don't really know what, I don't really know why that we're getting what we're getting, but I don't hate it. I just don't like it. And that's a problem. So I think this falls in the category of like forgettable Marvel movies that like maybe when you're in it, you're like, oh, that's neat. But then like 5 seconds later, when you turn on your active brain, you're like, oh, that doesn't make sense though. Right. And so I don't know. That's where I'm at with it. Like there's a lot that can be said about the filmmaking though, right? Like the direction isn't great. The screenplay, even though it's chopped up and, you know, assembled in post, the dialogue's just not there. Like one of the very first lines in the film, it starts with like Harrison Ford in like backstage waiting to go on stage at a political rally. Yeah. And like his assistant or whatever comes up and says 1 minute warning. And he goes, have you heard from Betty, from my daughter? And I'm like, oh, that was for me. That was for the audience who's forgotten who Betty is. Yeah. But like, I knew who Betty was, so I didn't need for my daughter. And I'm like, and also your assistant doesn't need that, or whoever this is doesn't need that either, because I'm sure they know who it is. I don't know. It's stuff like that. It's this like nonstop exposition dump. And like after that scene, it immediately goes into like what is essentially just a recap of the Incredible Hulk film from 2008. And I'm like, again, very expository. It only exists to be previously on the MCU. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't need it. I don't need it. And frankly, and we've talked about this before, people know the MCU that want to know it, and the people that don't. You just don't. You don't have to spend time doing that.
You can't keep splitting the audience, man. You just gotta charge.
You just
forward.
have to go. Yeah, exactly. Just go forward. So the script isn't great. You know, whatever. There's some odd. You know, again, the direction's not great, but like there's some odd VFX stuff that I can only assume is because of the reshoots. But then there's some really good VFX, and there's some, and like, don't get me wrong, there's also some really good ideas buried in this and some good moments. Yeah. I just wish that they were like that's what the film was. Yeah. So it's this weird roller coaster of like, oh, the movie's okay. Oh, no, it's not. It's okay. It's not nice. And like the whole time you're just like whiplash back and forth between, is this working? Is this not working? And then what you're left with is just like a big pile of ideas and thoughts and scenes, but nothing, no glue holding it together. So I don't know. That's where I'm at with it.
I thought it was all right. I wasn't bored, but I was sort of thinking like, it's just kind of a mess. Yeah. I was thinking the theory, I was like, okay, like I don't hate any of this, but none of it's like that great either. Yeah. Something's missing. What is it? And to speak to the Julius Ona thing, I say sort of directed by, I don't want to mean to besmirch the man, but we know that Marvel is a you know, an assembly line of people. And we know that oftentimes these big action set pieces are prevised and coordinated by essentially the action department of the studio before a director even comes on board. And certainly when they switch seats as much as this, I think Malcolm Spellman was originally going to direct this, and he was obviously, he's one of the writers. I'm assuming a credit from an earlier draft. I don't think he was like writing this thing all the way through, because he was the showrunner of Falcon and Winter Soldier And I think what was missing was whatever the hell was in his original draft, because there is a tremendous opportunity when you have a Black Captain America to, use that a little bit, leveraging that character in ways that you can't do with Steve Rogers.
Yeah.
And ways that they did do or tried to do on the series. And instead, this is a film that's just where the hero is somewhat interchangeable in terms of what actually happens in the story. I don't feel like anything in the story is unique to Sam Wilson necessarily.
No, I would agree.
He has one conversation with a character we know who shows up for a scene just for him to basically bounce his sadness off of. And it's like, I could never live up to Steve. And it's like, you gotta stop, because that's what the series was about.
Yeah. Right.
And now we've regressed you to have this little Dark Night of the Soul scene for 2 minutes.
Yep.
And that's the kind of stuff that you and I really don't like. It's like, if you're going to interconnect these, you need to have consistency. If you are going to be a content factory and you are going to be a serialized studio, that's your fucking job. You need to do that. Yep. You can't be doing this like regression stuff. Like, that's lazy writing, and it's frustrating for those of us who do watch everything to have to sit there and be like, okay, I thought we were past this. What's this all about?
It just means that you don't know what other story to tell.
Right. And I feel like I feel like whatever it was there in the original draft. And I think the subsequent drafts made it more about, okay, how do we like flesh out Ross, which is not a bad choice. I liked all the Ross stuff in here, really. But it became much more about that. And it just sort of lost what the protagonist is supposed to be doing and going through. So I feel like Sam was not written well in this movie, even though Mackie himself is good in it. But he did deserve better. And, I think that they just, at the end of the day, were like, hey, we're here to make an entertainment film. And it's just like, I know, but you have an opportunity here, and you're leveraging, culture war stuff in other shows anyways. Like, lean into it. I don't know if they made some changes after the election or something, like, oh shit, well, maybe we should, take some of the liberal edge out of this, or what.
I have no idea.
I just know that it's an organization that exists to make money, and for one reason or another, they said some stuff that's in here or not in here is going to hurt our ability to make that money. And whoever made that decision feels justified, because it's doing pretty well. It's like the second highest opening Captain America film, I think.
Yep.
Which is wow. Yeah.
Right.
Not really well deserved, but good for it, and good for Mackie.
Yeah.
Good for representation casting, because it's another, with Black Panther and Captain Marvel, it's another solid example of that's not going to hurt your box office. Even though a lot of people, a lot of shit that got pushed to my algorithm was like people talking about how they can't see Mackie as Captain America. And I'm like, okay.
I made the mistake of going to YouTube and typing in Captain America Brave New World review. Yeah. And this was like earlier today, or maybe yesterday. I don't know.
What's the vibes?
And I was like, what's everybody thinking about this? And so like I watched a couple that were, legit reviews, and then I went to one, I don't know who it was. And so I'm like, okay, let me see what this guy has to think. And so like you click on it, and the first thing was like, they refer to him as Captain African American.
Oh.
And I was like, I'm done. And immediately clicked off that video. And I'm like, I can see exactly what you're doing. And I don't have to hear anything else. All I need to know is that you don't even give him the proper respect of calling him by his character's name. Yeah. You have to come up with some snide comment. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So like, we all knew that was going to happen from certain folks, but my thought on everything is like, if that's what's hindering you this was not going to ever be made for you.
Yeah.
And at the same time, like opening as highly as it did, I think was always an inevitability because people were genuinely curious.
Yeah.
Like I think sure, maybe there were some bigots that hate watched it, but I think genuinely people wanted to turn out to see what Marvel could do with this.
Just make sure you hate watch it in IMAX.
Right, exactly. pay that upcharge.
Get some popcorn.
Buy the popcorn
the
bucket. Yeah. But all that to say, like I always expected this to do well, if only for curiosity's sake. And I think there are a lot of people who were curious about how this was going to turn out. And yeah, so that doesn't surprise me. What surprises me is that they didn't lean into that in the marketing. Or really in the story, but like that they should have. I don't know, man. It's such a strange thing. If it were me coming out of that series, which I'll be honest with you, I don't remember much about the series. I know I watched it. I remember some bigger moments, but I don't really remember a lot of the minute details.
Remember Zemo dancing?
Yes. I remember Walker smack his blood on the shield and
murdering somebody with the shield.
Yeah. So I remember all this kind of stuff, but like, I don't really remember a lot of the plot machinations, but what I do remember, or what I maybe would have done here is like, okay, at the end, if I'm not mistaken, at the end of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there's this idea of like, hey, Sam is kind of accepted as Captain America now by a lot of people. So I would almost have flipped it. And instead of him saying, I'm not good enough to pick up the mantle, it's him saying, I'm not good enough to live up to my own self. Like this image that people are putting on me to represent everybody now in this new way. I don't know that I can do that. Like that's a lot of pressure, but regardless of what you do, it does have to be grounded in him. And like, maybe even that idea is a little too similar to the other, but you have to give me something that Sam is feeling and thinking, and then progress that through an arc. Mm-hmm. And I thought they were getting there. There's this early scene where Sam and Joaquin go and visit Isaiah Bradley, and Isaiah's very much like, hey, I'm not really okay with you being Captain America and representing a country that hated me for so long and still hates me. Yeah. I'm not okay with that. And meanwhile, Sam takes sort of the opposite opinion, like, hey, no, this is a good thing. Like, it's good that I'm here. Yeah. Okay, so now test that belief, right? And that's where I thought we were going. Sam is making a thesis statement. Now we test the thesis, and they don't do it. Like they just completely shove it under the rug that's even on his mind at all. So I don't know. It's just one of those things. Exactly like you said, you could replace him with any other Marvel character, and this story would be fundamentally the same. There's nothing unique to him about it.
I agree. And I just think that made the movie kind of toothless in terms of trying to say something. Yes. Like I think that we've said before, I think these films are uniquely positioned to contain cultural commentary that you can wrap in chocolate and feed to a large audience. I think that's the high function of the high artistic function of these movies is we're going to take comic book characters with ideals and whatever, and human beings going through what we're going through. We're going to wrap it in some action sequences, and we're going to let the people go home with a sense of enlightenment about a subject, or at least something to think about. Even if it's one thing, even if we're hit over the head with it, the film should have a message. And again, somebody or a group of executives just decided that this movie wasn't the movie to do that. And it seemed, I sent you a review. And in that, he called it cowardly. I don't know I'd go that far, but I don't know what word I would use in its place. when you consider that like this is a large studio that can absorb a bad box office weekend or criticism. If people hated this film,
at least they would have taken a stance.
They could have been like, okay, well, fuck you,
right.
Or not stop making movies. Like if Neon makes a movie like this and gambles on it and says the wrong thing, people could be like, hey, we hate this, and Neon would go like, oh shit, well, we're gonna have to shut down, I guess. You can't bully Disney into shutting down. Therefore, if Disney is going to do anything of artistic merit in this space, it would be, hey, let's push forward some pro diversity, whatever. Not over the head, not like a training video, but like let's say something, and especially now.
Right. Yes.
So that's the part where it's like, I know if you're listening and, we haven't gotten to spoilers yet, but like, that's the part that's frustrating is like, that's the stuff that makes the Steve Rogers Captain America movies, especially the second and third one. That's what makes those rewatchable. It's not just the action's amazing in those, but it's not just that. It's the story. It's the cultural commentary. It's the political intrigue. It's a character taking a stand on something, even when nobody else will stand with him. That's compelling, and that's heroism, and that is rewatchability. And I feel like given the choice between watching this whole film again from start to finish or just watching a high definition rendering of the two main action set pieces, I'd just watch the set pieces because those were cool and I didn't care for the story as a whole. I wrote here, I think that people can skip the theaters for this one. I don't know. I'm on the fence about that. Depends on what you feel about what I just said. Because
I think you could. I think you can watch this on Disney Plus and be okay because it kind of feels just like more of the TV show.
Okay, well, let's talk about spoilers, I suppose.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like the movie started with, all right, we want to have Captain America and Falcon, in an aerial battle with some jets. Start storyboarding that.
Yep.
And then we want the Red Hulk.
Yes.
And that's what the film's going to be about. Yep. And this was mentioned in the thing I sent you, but it's also, I wrote it in my notes. I think that they did a real bad thing marketing the Red Hulk.
I agree.
Because I thought other things were going to happen after that.
Yeah.
It's like, surely they wouldn't give away the climax of the film.
Correct.
And that's exactly what they did.
That's exactly what they did. Well, and it also puts you, the audience member, in a position where you know more than the characters.
Yeah.
And that's not a fun position. And it certainly makes your characters look dumb.
But if they hadn't said anything or pushed the Red Hulk in marketing, we would have known and maybe suspected, are they going to do the Red Hulk in this movie?
Yeah.
But most people are not going to do that. And
correct.
Like the average moviegoer does not know that about Thaddeus Ross.
Right.
And wouldn't have thought of it. I mean,
correct.
You risk those people being like, seriously?
Yeah.
But like, yeah, seriously. I get why they did it. I understand the argument that like, how can you not put that in the trailer and on posters and on merch and stuff on the front end? But it's like, you shouldn't have done it, man. The video I sent you made the case that like part of the reason he thinks they did that is they just had so little belief in this movie just being a Black Captain America movie that they felt the need to market the Red Hulk to people so that they know there'd be a fun CG monster in it.
Right.
And
which is possible. But I don't think I have a hard time believing anybody saw the Red Hulk and said, now I'm seeing that movie.
Right.
I wasn't before, but now I am.
Yeah, I don't know. I can see how you might see the Red Hulk in marketing and say, oh, that's guaranteed like big CG fight.
Sure.
But again, like this is the 59th Marvel movie. What is this?
Right.
It's the 35th.
Whatever it is.
The 35th one.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. We've been doing this for 15 years, almost 20 years.
Yep.
You know what to expect from these.
Correct.
So,
yep.
Yeah, that was a misstep.
Yep, I agree. Or at least just don't build the mystery around it.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to spoil it, then don't put it as like a, ooh, what's happening to him?
Yeah.
Because like we know.
Yeah. Hope you close your eyes when you watch your tickets outside.
Yeah, exactly. Because all the popcorn buckets are out here and all the standees and whatever else. Yeah.
Don't look at anything.
Red Hulk toilet paper in the bathrooms, whatever it is. It's like, if your toilet paper is red, then you got a problem. That's a different issue. It's just so frustrating because there's a really good story here with Ross.
Yes.
And I enjoyed Harrison Ford's performance. I enjoyed Ross's story. I think he has the best arc in the film.
He does.
And there's that moment on the warship where he's like, turning into the Red Hulk.
Yeah.
And that's a really good, tense moment. Now, I didn't actually like all of the dogfight stuff up above. That's where I was really like, I'm very bored by this. But that's because it was essentially, I'd almost have to dissect it and see it again to really know why. But my knee-jerk reaction is because it feels like this big climactic fight, but it's Sam and Joaquin against nameless, faceless people in jets. It doesn't feel personal, and it doesn't feel like it doesn't mean anything to the characters other than got to stop the war. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really mean anything to them personally. And I think that that's maybe a problem, but there's probably something to do with the way it's shot too. But the moment inside that ship where he may turn is genuinely a good moment, because you start thinking like, if it happens here, then how do all of these people not die on this boat? Yeah. And like, that's a really good moment. It almost makes me wish that it did happen there. And Sam then had to save all the people that Ross endangered. Yeah. That would feel better to me. But I don't know. I can't say for certain. Ross's storyline largely works for me. The idea of a man who's been known for his temper, deciding to turn over a new leaf, try to re-engage with his daughter, and like, all of these things. He's trying to prove himself as a man, and he gets continually like roadblocked and frustrated until that temper might come out again. That's a really promising story. Yeah. I just wish that everything else had been up to par. And it really makes you wonder, like, if they gave that much time and attention and care to Ross's story, why didn't they do that for Sam?
Yeah.
And it becomes glaring that they didn't.
Yeah. And although I liked his arc, like, I felt like the ending was very abrupt.
I agree. Like, I had that in my notes.
Okay.
Yes.
Did you like seeing Tim Blake Nelson come back?
I did. I thought that was good. And I like Tim Blake Nelson. Now, I think his part may be a little underwritten or, one note.
Sure.
But I genuinely, like, I like him, and I didn't mind the leader and his performance as the leader.
Yeah.
I do have a problem with the way that they wrote the character. And like, even when I was in the theater, they make this big thing of like, okay, he's being held against his will in this, black site, and he can't escape from it. But then Sam and Joaquin break in all of 4 minutes with no plan. So how hard would it have been for the world's smartest man to break out?
I don't know.
And then he breaks out, he gets out. But they didn't even say like, I'm able to break out now because you did something. Like, if they had, maybe I missed it, but unless he had said something like, I needed you to come, like, I worked the probabilities so that you would come do this so that I could break out. and there's something that Sam did that needed to be done from the outside for him to do it, or needed something. But again, it just feels like the world's smartest man. I can't escape this place. And then they break in and he's like, see you later, bye.
Thanks for leaving the door open.
Now you can escape it? Yeah, I don't understand.
My feeling, giving the character the benefit of the doubt, was, okay, he must have chosen that time to escape. Like, he could have escaped any time, but it sounds like he was miserable and should have escaped much sooner. But I think...
I don't know. I don't buy that logic.
The only thing I buy it late in his process, because I think he said, like, Ross kind of kept him there to keep solving problems, and he promised that if he was made president, he would like free him or something.
Yeah.
And so I can see how he might then decide, oh, I'm gonna wait till Ross is in the White House and then I'll escape.
But he couldn't have said
But he would have.
The probability is that Ross will betray me.
Sure.
Why am I
waiting? Yeah.
Why am I waiting for this? Yeah.
So I think we can call that a plot hole for sure.
I think so. And he says a few times, like, it takes a lot to surprise me, Captain, but you've surprised me. Like, the odds were 80% that you would do this and you did something else. And I'm like, but you didn't have a backup plan? Like, you just trusted, like, you just trusted that the 88% would be the go and not the, you know what I mean? Like, why, if you want to sell me that he's so smart, be like, there's an 88% chance that you were going to do this. But on the off chance that you did not work within the confines that I've laid out for you, I also have this. Yeah. Like, then you're like, oh, okay, he's prepared for every eventuality. But instead, it just feels more like, I'm just going to go with the most logical, most, possible thing. And if it happens to surprise me, then I'm going to yell to the camera. I'm like, well, that doesn't make you seem that smart.
It now makes The Incredible Hulk required reading. It does that thing. It's like, do we need to watch it? Like, I know that John had his mom skip that movie, and now it's like, gotta watch it now.
Gotta watch it. Yep.
Now you have to go back.
I'm one of the weirdos that I like the Incredible Hulk movie.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. Like,
I don't hate it.
It's not upper echelon for sure, but it's fine.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, whatever. But it is weird that this many years later, we're getting a sequel to it. And like, you would expect maybe like eventually, okay, well, we'll do the Red Hulk, but to do the leader in the same movie and reintroduce Betty in the same movie, it just feels like, oh, you just wanted to do a Hulk movie and you gave it to Captain America because you didn't trust Sam to lead a film or draw a film. I don't know.
Yeah. It feels, it's a bad look. We can't speculate on the motivation, but it certainly doesn't make you look like you had much faith in this character to carry a movie. I know that Mackie wants to like take all those risks and like say all those things with this character too. And it must be frustrating for him to not get to do that in this movie. Cause then it's like, well, when am I going to get to do it? Like, we have all these Avengers films coming up. Like, it's gonna be a while before I have another Captain America film. Hell, he might die in Secret Wars. Like, this could have been the only time he got to say anything.
Correct.
So that must eat at you.
So the film is a little bit of a rehash of a few, like a remix of a few different Captain America stories, right? You've got, oh no, my friend has been brainwashed into doing something and I have to clear his name. Okay, well, that was Winter Soldier, but now it's here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's a little bit of like a lot of other Captain America things. And so he doesn't get a chance to say anything unique or new to himself, unto himself. But one thing that I think frustrated me is because it was similar. You have these two storylines. You have the storyline of Isaiah, which parallels the story of Bucky. And you have the storyline of the leader and Ross, which parallels Bruce Banner. Why do Bucky and Bruce not play any part in this? Like, that feels so strange to me. Yes, we just were saying like it needs to be more about Sam. It does. It should have been. That's the folly of doing this, is you're inviting other characters to the table, but then you don't give them the opportunity because you need it to be Sam, well, then why even do this at all?
Yeah.
So for me, I'm going like, okay, when Bucky shows up, I expected him to say like, hey, this is a lot like what Steve went through with me. Let me help you.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't seem to do anything. And I'm like, but it begs the question, like, why not? And the same with the fact that the Hulk does not show up in this. That's really frustrating to me because we assume that Banner is somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Has Banner had contact with Betty? I have so many questions. Like I was fine when Betty just wasn't a part of this universe anymore.
Yeah.
To let that lie.
Yeah, me too.
But now I'm like, well, but now you have to.
Yeah. Now these characters have a history. You've got these characters. You've got Jennifer Walters. You've got Bruce Banner. Like you have. This would have been a good opportunity to at least nod to the fact that it still exists.
Yeah.
Even if they're watching, even in a post-credit scene, like they're watching it together on the news, and it's like, hey, did you know that Ross was? Did you know this about Ross? Like, no, I didn't know this. No.
Yeah.
However, Ruffalo would say it.
Sure. Right.
That was my Mark Ruffalo impression. No. It's news to me.
Wouldn't have known that if you hadn't said it was Ruffalo.
Okay. I had to really spell it out.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
it's a great impression when you have to say the impression's name.
No,
Ruffalo, that's me.
No.
Yes. Well, so like, okay, let's say there's a world where this is the story. Like I'm certainly writing a few scenes with Hulk, and here's how I'd do it. I'd have the Hulk show up, midway through. Sam goes to Bruce. I think something's wrong with Ross.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is, but I think he's in trouble and something's wrong. And Hulk says something to the effect of, I don't care what happens to that man. Mm-hmm. Do you know how long he tried to kill me? And I have no empathy for that man at all. I don't want any part of this. And that's his out. He now does not have to appear in the film.
Yeah.
But then at the end, when Sam is about to get totally trashed by Red Hulk, the Hulk shows up and saves the day, and he saves Ross in a moment of forgiveness for Ross, and that's what turns Ross back into Ross, right?
Yeah.
Or yes, it's cliche, but whatever. Or Betty shows up and changes him. But I also think that Sam is able to talk Ross down is too abrupt for me. Like it's too convenient.
I felt the same, but I also felt if there's any character that could, it ought to be Sam, because that's his that's like his big non-power skill is counseling.
Sure. Yes. And I'm okay with that, but he also doesn't say anything that's unique or interesting other than like, you look where you are. You wanted to be here with your daughter. I'm on a green screen. And that's all he says. and then suddenly he's supposed to be okay flipping. I think it makes more sense for that moment to be given to Bruce or to Betty. And yes, that takes the moment away from Sam. That's why you don't do this. That's why you don't write it in this way.
Yeah.
But that's way more satisfying unless you can still roundabout give it to Sam by having Sam say something to Bruce, which ignites forgiveness in Bruce. And so the whole thing is then Bruce can turn around and say, I'm only here because of you.
Yeah.
And then you give it to Sam.
Or, Bruce is restraining Ross while these words are being spoken to him.
Sure.
Or they're both saying it or something like that. Yeah. And then Sam still gets another moment by himself when he later goes to talk to the leader, which I didn't like him just being tackled by cops and arrested off screen. Like that's part of it. It's just like, oh, and they got him. Good job, guys.
Yeah.
And then like Ross transforms back, and then like, and the next time we see him, it's like, hey, it's a good thing you resigned. And it's like, why don't we see this? Can we don't see any some news reports?
Who's the president now? Who is his vice president? I don't know.
I thought they were going to reveal some like crazy thing like, oh, it's
Obadiah Stane's back.
Yeah. It's Pepper Potts or something, like something, or another villain character or eventual villain character, I would guess. It's Victor Von Doom. I don't know. But yeah, I thought for sure they're going to reveal something there, but it's pretty much just like, all right, Ross is in prison now. But he's comfortable with himself and his daughter's there. And I guess it's okay.
In an alternate timeline, how neat would it have been if the reveal was that the vice president was Jonathan Majors Kang? You're like, oh, Kang is the president now.
Yeah.
Okay. There's just a lot of fundamental problems with this, but I wanted to throw this in there too. I've heard a lot about people being like, look, Iron Man had to have a Hulk buster to even go up against a Hulk. And here's Sam Wilson, just a normal dude, mostly exposed to the elements, just with a one vibranium shield. All right. I get it. I totally get it. You can't forget that vibranium's more powerful than the iron used in Iron Man's suit.
Yes.
So there's that. So yes, it had Tony Stark built a suit out of vibranium, maybe he wouldn't have needed a Hulkbuster.
Right.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah.
I didn't have as much of a problem with that. But here's why. From the beginning, I was being told by the film to suspend my disbelief to a very big degree.
Yes.
And here, literally, scene one.
Can I guess?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it when he shoots in like 1 billion miles an hour and lands on his fucking feet?
Correct. That is the exact moment when I was like, I know there was a sonic boom there, so you're traveling at the speed of sound, and then the sonic boom catches up and takes out the thing. I'm like, this dude was traveling at the speed of sound and landed on his feet.
All that would have taken was one established special effect they've used in other films. It's the little purple, effect when Black Panther does anything.
Of the vibranium.
Absorbing. He's wearing
Dr. Scholl's vibranium.
Yeah. But the whole point, one of the things with the Black Panther suit is when he punches, it absorbs all that kinetic energy. So all you had to do, especially considering his suit came from the Wakandans, another thing that happens off screen. Oh, it's a gift from the Wakandans. Oh, thanks for telling us exposition, cool. Jim.
Yes.
But then it would have explained to the 1% of the audience who was like, why is it doing the Wakandan purple thing? Like, that's not a Wakandan suit. And then later they say it is. Like, good job, guys. Ooh,
right.
I almost had you.
But no, they didn't do it. I was like, did he decelerate? What happened? And so sure, then the Red Hulk is beating him up, and I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. It's magic.
Not to mention, we are now in an era with these suits where it's like nanobot, Tony's suit in Infinity War is so cool and amazing, and you buy that he invented it.
Yeah.
But then they started making all of the suits do similar things. Ant-Man's suit does that with the helmets.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well now I guess his suit does it. Now it's like, all right, everyone catches up and makes better shit. I don't know.
Now, having said that, yes, I suspended my disbelief a long time ago. It's fine. Would I have preferred if Sam had been very, very injured? Yes.
Yeah.
Because I'm always a fan of stakes in your film.
Yeah.
I'm always a fan of consequences. It's why it works so well for me when Batman shows up at the end of the climactic fight and his suit's all ripped to pieces.
Yeah.
And the Toby Spider-Man, his suit's by the end of that first movie, his suit's in shreds.
Yeah.
Right. I much prefer when the characters are beaten within an inch of their life. I love that. I love that.
But maybe it's a bad look to have an old white man beat up our black protagonist.
That is a bad look, but it can be story driven. you can tell that story.
Exactly.
That then becomes a metaphor for America beating him up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This is the president. This is the personification of America.
Yeah.
The temper of America beat the crap out of a black man in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
That works metaphorically.
Yeah, it does actually. Wow.
And it shows consequences to what what he's doing, that Sam is so sold out to his belief that he will go through that. It's what makes I can do this all day mean anything. I also think Sam should have said that line.
Yeah.
Now, yes, I know it's Steve's.
He should have though. Yeah.
He should have said it. And it should have been right there. And so it should have been Sam does the Wakandan kinetic energy bomb. They both blow back. Sam wakes up, and instead of like Red Hulk waking up and just standing, he should have just immediately started charging and like got in another good hit and then waited. And Sam says the line, I could do this all day. And then whatever happens from there does something. But like that would be the moment where he becomes Steve. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like you want him to be his own person, but you also want him to be Captain America. And that's where, if this is a mantle, I am my own person, but I have to be Cap. And that line is the personification of Captain America.
Yeah.
And so in that moment, he becomes Captain America, not Steve. He becomes Captain America. And so I would have had that happen.
That carries weight too, like metaphorically, like for someone like him to stand up and say like, this isn't gonna stop me.
Correct.
You know, even if the president of the United States is beating the shit out of me.
Yes.
I'm not going to quit. And that, especially right now, that would be really nice for a lot of people to see.
Exactly. And you say, I could do this all day and get ready. Like he's accepting that next punch is going to kill him.
Yeah.
Right. Red Hulk's ready. It's one more punch and he's dead. And then Bruce comes in, or Betty, to stop it.
Yeah.
And Bruce, utilizes his ability to calm the situation down or whatever, or beat the crap out of it. I don't care. Like it can be whatever. Like part of me really wanted, like, this is a complete aside, but like I even would have been tempted to write something where Ruffalo's Hulk gets so mad that he turns into Hulk. He's no longer smart Professor Hulk. He's just Hulk again. And so you get Hulk versus Red Hulk. Oh. And it's like the two true Hulks. I would have had that happen, and I would have regressed Banner so that moving forward, he's not like problems are behind me. He's back to square one Banner. And then you give him more to do. I totally would have done that too. But like, I don't know, man. There's so much stuff you could have done. And that's part of what bothers me with this movie is you can talk all day. I could do this all day. Talk about all the things that you could do with these ideas.
Yeah.
They're not bad ideas.
Yeah.
They're just poorly executed and they're not done in a cohesive way. It's all in the execution.
There's a way to do it without him just sort of being a Deus Ex Machina and like taking over the movie or taking all the glory. But I would have had him show up and essentially like as Hulk, but I wouldn't have had them fight. I would have been like, one, studio would appreciate saving the money. Two,
yeah, sure.
I think that they would want to defy the expectation that, oh, there's Bruce now. He's going to fight him. He's like, I'm not going to fight him. I'm going to tell him he needs to calm down and that we're better than this and that he can be better than this. And, think of Betty. And I'm thinking about Betty. And it's like, and then maybe Betty shows up and it's like, oh, Betty. And now we have like this hanging question going forward in the movies. Oh, what's Bruce's relationship with Betty now? Obviously they must have talked after all that happened. So that concedes something there, but you do have to balance that with lots more attention on Sam so that people don't forget that this isn't a Hulk movie.
Right. But it is. Like, that's the problem. Yeah. Like, could you have your cake and eat it too and have Hulk? So Professor Hulk comes out. I'm just going to call him that. I don't know if that's what people call him or if that's the meme name. I don't know. But Professor Hulk comes out and restrains Ross. Red Hulk, right? Yeah. And then, but Red Hulk is overpowering him. He's too strong. And then the Professor Hulk changes into True Hulk, but True Hulk isn't fighting still. It's still restraining, but it looks like, original Hulk.
Yeah.
I just love original Hulk, and I hate that he's just green Ruffalo now.
Just a guy.
Like that bothers me so much. That may be one of my least favorite things about Endgame is what they did to Hulk. Because to me, this is a whole aside, but to me, the entire point of Hulk and why that character works is that Bruce will never get control over Hulk. To me, that's the point. The point is how do you learn to take the demon that's in you and turn him into something for good? But it's not by the demon doesn't exist anymore. And that's what it felt like Endgame was. It felt like Endgame was, oh, I've totally mastered him. And I'm like, yeah, that's stupid. So that's just me. It removes the fundamental struggle of the character. It's like a Spider-Man with no personal tragedy anymore.
Yeah.
You have to have personal tragedy. That's the point. It's the point of responsibility is there are consequences to be paid for that, for what he does.
Yeah.
You remove that. That's the fundamental struggle of Spider-Man. You remove it. It's not Spider-Man. You remove Hulk being an out of control monster. You've removed the whole point of the character.
Yeah.
Whatever. But the point is, all of these ideas stem from a fundamental problem that the film has, which is it is kind of a Hulk movie and it should be a Sam movie. And so really the actual way to solve this film is that you remove Ross entirely, or you can still do him. You can still do that at the end, but it has to be metaphorical. And there's just none of that here. I don't know, man. It's a frustrating thing just in general. Like, that so much, like an example, like so much time is given to Giancarlo Esposito that you feel like, why are we looking at this? Like, why are we doing this?
Why was this guy in the movie?
Yeah. And then there's even a moment with him where it felt like while I'm watching the movie, I'm like, oh, so this is the Winter Soldier scene redone, just not as good. It's that like knife fight that Steve and Bucky have, and cars are exploding and flipping and whatever. Yeah. And it's like, okay, that's this, but not as good. You have that, but then there's like this big question mark I have later in the film where Sam goes and talks to Giancarlo's character, and Giancarlo's like, I want a better cell or whatever. I want freedom. And I'm like, is Sam in any position to offer any of these things?
Right.
What? He has no official governmental jurisdiction of anything.
No.
Like, how could he do this? So there's like a fundamental.
That doesn't matter. So.
Well, okay, whatever. It does, but sure. There's that. There's the whole like the lady that trained in the Red Room, and I'm like, oh, I thought that was a child the first time I saw her. And like, I whatever, there's that, whatever. But like, I don't know, man. I just, there
are characters that just kind of go nowhere.
There are. Yeah. And there's a lot of like little nitpicks that I have. Like when I was watching it, I was like, oh, that doesn't make sense. Like there's a moment where they say something about trying to reach out to Sam or something, like they're off grid. And it's because they're traveling to go somewhere. I think, they're going to the where the leader is, where Stearns is. And so they're off grid. And so it was like a hard cut to like Joaquin playing like on a flip phone, like old cell phone game. Because like we just have these old burner phones there, whatever. But then like 2 seconds later, he gets some sort of notification that all of the inmates, all of the other shooters have been killed in prison. And I'm like, I thought you were off grid, bro. How are you doing this? So there's stuff like that where I'm like, they didn't think that through. They didn't think this through, whatever. But like, whatever. I don't know. I'm also just confused. Like, this is a small thing, whatever. I'm confused about the fact that Sam and Bucky go into Stearns's lab, but Stearns isn't in the lab, but he is locked up in this facility. but not in the lab. Where was he? Did he just go to the bathroom for a minute? Like, I don't understand. Why do they have gates on the lab that are only accessible via a button that's on the outside, as if to keep Stearns in, but he's not in there. But then also when they leave, Sam just sticks his hand through the grate and presses the button. I'm like, well, then what's the point of the button if it's within an arm's reach? There's like all these things that, like, as I'm watching it, I'm like, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It's weird. Whatever.
It just feels slapped together and you know, not papered over very well.
Yeah, it makes me feel like there's either like we're dealing with first draft-itis, or like this is part of the reshoots and they were just like, just throw something together. I don't know, man.
I wrote a note here that was just kind of an observation, but like I almost feel like it's telling. So many lines in this movie are just either Sam or Joaquin saying, "Oh shit." And I wonder if that lends to the choppiness, because it's like something happens. Someone goes, "Oh shit." It's like, "Oh shit, Sam." The prisoners are going, like, "Oh shit." And then the next thing, "Oh shit." And it's just like, things keep happening, Sam. It's so we're on our toes. And you're just like, this is what's going on. And it's like, you guys are as surprised as I am. It's strange. And I feel like nobody realized how many times that got said until they assembled the film. They're like, and then the editor went, "Oh shit."
Yes. I also was like, there was a big mistake when Isaiah first stands up to shoot the president. They have the music playing in the film. You hear the music, the trigger word music. Yeah. And so immediately my first thought was, what was it? Was that something in the theater?
Yeah,
like,
who didn't turn their phone off?
Yeah, I was like, what was that? But then, like, immediately it becomes clear, like, oh, that was in the film. Oh, that was the activation thing. Yeah. And it would have been so much better if they had not revealed that, so that then Sam can be like, "I believe you, Isaiah, but we, the audience, don't know who to trust." Yeah. We don't know. And all we know is like Isaiah's pretending that he doesn't remember. Yeah. Or is he, you know what I mean? Like, we don't know.
That's a funny play, because if you've seen the series, you definitely believe Isaiah. If you're a regular moviegoer and you don't know who this guy is, you just met him in this movie, you're like, that guy's lying. Like, you could even play with the audience's expectations that way.
Correct. But you can also play with him too by having him be like, you know, say something in the earlier scene where you think, yeah, this guy might not be on the up and up about going to the White House.
Like, he's still not happy to be there. Like, they're in the limo. Like instead of talking about how good he looks in his suit, he could be like, "I hate that I'm here. Like, I'm only here for you, but I'm not like, please don't make me take pictures with people or something. I don't like this."
Or Joaquin goes to snap a photo and for some reason he doesn't want to be seen. He doesn't want to be in the photo. Yeah. And it's like, oh, it could just be that he doesn't want to be in the photo, or it could be that I don't want evidence that I'm here. Yeah. You know, whatever. But like, regardless, it should be more mysterious, so that when Sam later discovers that trigger thing, then you play back, like you do have the moment where they play back and like you see the phone flashing, which we didn't get to see the first time. So it feels like a reveal of something that we didn't see. So it doesn't feel as smart. You know what I mean? Whereas if it had been like, we saw the phone flashing, but we also didn't think about it. We
didn't know it
until it, you know, and you replace that moment with, oh, we can hear that, like in the surveillance footage, there was music playing through somebody's phone nearby, whatever. We didn't hear it the first time. Now we're whatever. But the point is, like, let that be a reveal that as Sam discovers about that trigger track, we also discover it for the first time, rather than, again, we feel like we know more than Sam. Yeah. So when he discovers something, we already know it. Oh, Sam. Oh, he might turn into Red Hulk. We already know that. Yeah. Oh, he had a trigger track. We already know that. Oh, he's taking this medication. We've already seen that. There's all of these things that it just puts us in a position to know way more than Sam. It makes him look dumb.
And to speak to Isaiah's thing too, him wanting to not be like on the guest list or sign the visitor's book or be in a picture. It's like, yes, that all looks suspicious, but for him, it's like, I don't want a record of being here because I'm Isaiah Bradley and my whole thing is like, fuck this administration, fuck the government for what they did to me. Like I'm here because for you. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean I want it noticed that I'm here.
Yes.
It plays totally into his whole brand.
Here's the next question. Superheroes are born out of tragedy, right? I think they should have killed Isaiah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Isaiah should have been brainwashed and did what he did.
Yep.
And unjustly killed by the police or by somebody, by Secret Service. And Sam, who believes his friend to be innocent, watched his death.
Yes.
And now Sam is going, look, I'm the one that brought him here because I trusted the government. I trusted my place here. Yeah. I cannot trust this anymore. My best, like this guy, not my best friend, but like this guy that I looked up to, this mentor of mine is dead. And he never trusted you in the first place. I did.
Yeah. But he trusted me.
And I let him down.
Yeah. Yeah. That would have been better. They could have done it right there when they were about to arrest him.
He's there. He's got his hands on the back of his head and a bullet gets him. Yeah. And you can have that moment where Sam's like, whoa, who fired? Like, what happened? And it's a big question, like, who did fire? It almost doesn't matter.
Yeah, you could ADR.
It was just the government.
Yeah, exactly. But you're right. Like, you don't want to have him like run and get shot because then too many people online would be like, well, he shouldn't have run. Right. You have to have him like straight up, shot at like, but Sam knows like, what is this? That would have, that's the thing, man. Like this is the kind of movie you can do that kind of stuff in and it means something and you have those opportunities and you just like, why do we have to keep Isaiah Bradley alive? Like, I'm sorry to him, but like, that's a perfect use of that character.
Correct.
Yeah. And even carrying the baggage of like, not just because he was a human being, but also like because he was a super soldier and because he had all this history with the government, like for someone like that to get killed in that kind of way is so frustrating and would be so hard for a character like Sam to have to witness. Yes.
I just had an idea.
Ooh.
Crap. I wish I had written this movie. Here's how you make that give that more weight. Mm-hmm. The film opens with a flashback. And you have a young Isaiah, young, spry, and ready for, ready to die for his country. Loves America. He is Steve Rogers, right?
Yeah.
And you can bring, what's the name of the guy that gave Cap the serum?
Oh, what was his name? Erskine.
Yeah. Did he die? I don't remember.
Yeah, he gets killed.
He died. Okay, so you can't bring him back. Whatever. So that's why I didn't write the movie because I don't know the lore. But regardless, you start with young, spry patriot Isaiah, and you have like an action scene where he does something for America.
Yeah,
and then gets punished for it. And so you see that moment, like we get to see the moment that a young man who's willing to die for his country is betrayed by his country. Mm-hmm. Then hard cut to old man, bitter, whatever. Now the audience will think he tried to kill the president because we just watched that scene where everything the president stands for betrayed him. Mm-hmm. Then he dies. Sam proves his innocence. And all of that means way more now that he kind of became a patriot again at the end and was betrayed again.
Yeah.
That means so much more. I don't know. Maybe that means nothing to anybody else, but to me, that that's a great little story.
I think that would resonate. I think there's a whole lot of people that would resonate with that. And I think it's just, I think it's like the reviewer I sent you. It's like, this is a film that features like the president of the United States. The film is called Captain America. Like, I know that people don't want these movies to be political, but this is a Captain America film. Like if there's a time to do it, it's right now. And they just didn't take an opportunity because they didn't want to. There'd be so many people who'd be alienated by the opening. Like it would piss off white people because it's like, oh Jesus, all right, we're going to watch this whole like thing. It's just like, but just listen, just watch.
But why would it piss anybody off?
It shouldn't.
Like, apart from the fact that
the moral
would
anger,
make you, right? The moral indignation, but why would it piss you off? Because you believe that nothing bad has ever happened
to black people
in America. Like, I don't understand. I can't wrap my head around that. Why can't we just see a story about an individual person and relate to it out of common decency because it's a human being who believed something and was betrayed, which happens to everybody all the time in life.
It sounds like DEI, Dustin.
All the time in life, we believe something and it gets pulled out from under us. This happens all the time. Why can't we relate to a character?
Because it's woke.
No, it's just humanity, dog. Like, this is frustrating.
It is.
Why can't
I feel like these exact fears, I believe, is what drove the movie to just feel like it has nothing to say.
Yes.
And that's unfortunate because it could have said a whole lot and had a really secure platform from which to say it.
Correct. Now, devil's advocate, maybe the idea of a Captain America movie in which the American government is not on the up and up, is not exactly unique. That is kind of what all the other Captain America movies were about, after all, except the first one.
Sure.
But it would be unique because it's a different angle, right? In Winter Soldier, it's about surveillance, right? The United States government is doing some wacky, shady things with surveillance. Yeah. In Civil War, the United States government is doing some wacky, crazy things regarding vigilante superheroes. Mm-hmm. In this, the United States government is doing some wacky, crazy things about its relationship to people of color.
Yeah.
So it's on brand. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, and not to mention those things are historically and also currently happening. So it's like,
correct.
It's never like I don't know. I don't buy this premise or like, can we stop all the America bashing? Well, it's like,
shouldn't Captain America movies exist or stories exist where we call into question America's practices and whether or not, because if you think
whether or not they actually serve the ideals of America.
Well, yeah, because if the idea is that Steve Rogers is the personification of a perfect America, then he has to be in conflict with. I won't say Steve Rogers. If Captain America is the personification of the perfect America, then he has to, by default, be in conflict with actual America,
the current America. Yeah,
he has to be. Otherwise, there's no conflict.
He's just Captain Company Man otherwise.
Yeah, it's just Captain Everything is great.
Nothing to see.
Captain all the other countries are terrible.
Captain Jingoism.
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
There's just there's a really good movie buried in this thing.
Yep.
If they just had the guts to say something that meant something, had the guts to rely on Sam and Anthony Mackie as someone who could carry a film and not have to
charismatic actors right now cast in these roles. It's like, there was no good reason not to have made any of those choices.
Correct. I saw a review earlier that was like, when I was looking at the reviews, it was like, Anthony Mackie just lacks the charisma of a leading man. And I was like, that's your problem, dog.
That's rich.
Yeah. I was like, that's you. That's a you problem. But I'm like,
no one has ever said that about Anthony Mackie.
No one's ever said that about Anthony Mackie. No. They're only saying it now.
Yes.
And I wonder why.
Yeah.
But all that to say, like, there's something really good here, and I wish we could just draw it out. And you have to, I don't know, I think you probably have to sacrifice some of the Hulk stuff. You can leave the leader out and leave Red Hulk, because the leader is not an America allegory.
Yeah.
Ross as president, as Red Hulk is. And then he can become the final boss America. And like, he's the personification of, here's another black man being trampled by America.
Yeah.
Remember what happened to your friend Isaiah?
Yeah.
Right? Like that's what you do, man. I'm so frustrated. I wish this movie was way better.
Better. Yeah. As good as it could have been with the with a lot of the same material.
Yes. You know this, listening audience, you're about to know this. Captain America is my favorite character from these movies. Yeah. That's not limited to Steve Rogers. I like Captain America and what those movies are. Yeah. The Winter Soldier is my favorite MCU movie, bar none.
Yeah.
So I'm the one that was rooting for this movie to work, because I don't want a bad Captain America movie. And I'm also a little bit biased because I don't think this movie's bad.
Yeah.
I just think it's not good. And I just wish we lived in the timeline where all those changes had been made prior to shooting, so they could have just shot a good movie the first time.
Yeah.
I don't know. Man, every now and then you come across a movie where you're like, it's so loaded with potential and it just didn't live up to it. And this is one of those for me.
I agree. It's this movie is homework, This movie is again, has its cool moments. The Red Hulk looks really good. It looks just like Harrison Ford. It
looks great.
Did a great job with the modeling and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the things it could have been are kind of overshadowing what it actually is. And, at best, even without the prejudice that you and I have against the movie now, after having discussed what it could have been, at best, it's still a movie that is just kind of flat. Aside from cool action scenes that, should be standard for a Marvel movie. So, it's homework. It's not essential see in the theater stuff. I'm glad it's doing well, because that sends a good message about the things that were the opposite true would have been inferred, no more black people, no more. Right. So I'm glad it's making money and had a good weekend, because that shuts up a lot of idiots. But I don't think that anyone else should go see it. I think if you're on the fence, you wait, and those people clicked off the episode when we got into spoilers. But
I will say this. I love the Captain America-ness of Captain America. Mm-hmm. Another one of my favorite characters is Hulk. And that's why so many of my ideas for how you'd save this revolve around the Hulk. But I also for all of its faults, you mentioned the visual effects for Red Hulk. They are fantastic. This is probably the best a Hulk has looked ever. And it felt so visceral. There's a moment where Red Hulk does the clap thing with his hands and sends shockwaves out. And I was like, yes, that's what I want from Hulk. That's exactly what I want. And then he leaps through the White House, and I was like, yes, that's what I want from the Hulk. And then there's I forget exactly how this happens, but a helicopter comes towards him, and he I don't know, javelins the copter with a copter or something.
Yeah.
I forget exactly how it works, but then he stands there as they come towards him, and he just looks like a cool dude as they explode around him. And there's smoke. I'm like, this is what I want from Hulk. Bring back Hulk.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like to the symbolism,
Make Banner
like
Hulk again.
This president with his out of control wrath is destroying the White House, is destroying America.
Oh no, that's too
right. It's like,
yeah.
It's almost like you're afraid of somebody reacting to that, you know?
It's one of those happy accidents where you're like, oh, this is just like really timely. It just sucks that they didn't go all the way with it.
I know.
With that metaphor.
And they should have. It's like, especially considering just from a political context, like especially considering that a major sentiment currently is that not enough people are saying anything about things. Yep. To have a movie come out that says those things. One of the things, again, that I liked about She-Hulk was that it accurately predicted that there would be a huge misogynistic backlash against this character. And they wrote that into the show so that when it happened, the show already picked up on it. It was like, we got you. Like the villain in that show is a toxic is like a toxic online bro. Like it's great. And it plays perfectly into the discourse that preceded like those final 3 episodes. And I was like, it made him even better because it was like a 4D experience.
Yeah. Right.
So if you accurately like we're done with the review. So like, I don't want to say, but like one of the things you could have done in this movie is had people like, you know, in the series, Sam is like, okay, I'm ready to be Captain America. Like I'm sure of myself, but maybe America's not America's clearly divided over this thing. Yeah. It would have been smart and a completely safe bet to assume, okay, I think in 2025, we won't have like racial and political harmony. So why don't we go ahead and have it to where there's like one of the first scenes is like he gets a beer. They say, oh, Cap, it's on the house. And then like a couple of the guys as he's walking by are like, all right, Cap, you know, like approval all around. It would have been like, yeah, it's extra for fucking superheroes. I don't know. Just like, you should have society, certain segments of society refuse to accept him. Yeah. Because that reflects, first of all, it's more dramatic and that's conflict, but it's also like, that's accurate. You will have people, you may as well have them wear a Reddit t-shirt or a Rotten Tomatoes t-shirt. Yeah. You know, like
that's a great idea.
It should have been that. And it's like, even if the film doesn't directly address it in the plot, because we have all this other shit going on, it means something to have the public not support him. You know, and maybe that's why he doesn't get as much power from Ross, like in an official capacity, because there's no public support for you as part of government. I can't deputize you. I can't give you clearance. You're too hot, you know? Yeah. And there was things that could have been done with that, and just like leaning on prejudice like that would have worked in this situation. And you can't do that to Cap. You can't do that to Steve Rogers because there's no like, he's just accepted as he is. And that's a statement in itself.
It's interesting because then what that makes me think is like, you can really build a conflict around that for Sam, but also around President Ross as well, because you can take Ross and like the whole point is like, what's going to make him mad enough to become Red Hulk. And in the film as is, it's like, I guess I actually don't really get it, but it's like, I guess the leader turns himself in for some reason, and every journalist gets a ping about this at the exact same time. And then they ask him like one extra question and then he turns, which it doesn't quite work for me.
No, you resisted it on the bridge of that. Like there's a battle going on outside and he's pretty much just talking about like his evil nature. Yeah. And instead it's like at a press conference where it's like, hey, I'm going to tell everyone how you imprisoned me and made me like solve math problems for 15 years. Yeah. And like that threat of exposure makes him mad, but it's like, it doesn't feel as personal as the other one. Well,
so that's when you move on to like
his last line could have been like, oh yeah, by the way, Ross, your mama. And he's like, mama. You motherfucker, you son of a bitch. To talk about my mother like that.
Miss Ross was a saint. So here's what you do. You have him. So Sam this is all off the top of my head here. Sam would maybe eventually discover or reveal to the public that the truth is that Isaiah was killed unjustly. And maybe he finds that it was at Ross's behest, right? It's we've got him in our sights, Mr. President. What he wants to do, kill him. Right. And Sam discovers this, leaks this, and the general public turns more sympathetic to Sam and less to the presidency and less to America. Quote unquote. Yeah. And so then that's what turns him is like, they like you more than they like me. Yeah. I don't America's changing. I don't want this. And like, whatever it is, it feels childish. You don't want him to feel like he's having a tantrum, but I don't know. Maybe you do.
I don't know, but that happens.
But it happens. But like you do like that. It makes way more sense if Sam comes into his own and is like, hey, listen, America, this is your America. This is who you have. It's this guy who will kill. Isaiah was not given a trial. Your president killed him without a trial.
Yeah.
And then the president is outed and tempers flare, and now I'm mad at Sam.
Yeah.
As it is, I'm mad at journalists. That's not about my protagonist. If it's I'm mad at you, Sam.
Yeah.
Now it means something. But it does mean that Sam can't talk him down now.
Yeah.
So there's your problem. Right? You now have a problem for yourself. If Sam causes the turn, he can't fix the turn.
But Bruce Banner shows up.
But Banner could, or Betty could. Maybe Sam could. I don't know. It would take some doing, but maybe it's, Mr. President, the American people needed to know this, but I believe that we can turn this around. And then he calms down. Maybe, I don't know, maybe you could write that in a way that's believable. It'd be really hard.
Or here's another thing that could have made it nice and current and prescient. Mr. President, someone is manipulating you. Someone has made you the way you are, and someone is exploiting this. Like you're like, someone knew you would react this way.
Yeah.
To the announcement or something.
Yeah.
Totally. You have him show like your beef isn't with me. I mean, I know you're pissed at me and I get it, but like, look at the damage you're causing by this reaction or something. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree. That probably is how you would do it.
Yeah.
I think that's the only, you're right. That's probably the only way that's palatable.
And that's the only thing to salvage the new Ross in this, because if they really tried hard to make sure that like Ross didn't come off as like a total asshole in this movie.
Yeah.
And that he and Sam were always on pretty friendly terms. So in this version, they're not. And then Ross does look like an asshole because he orders Isaiah shot and everything. But if you consider that there was just now an attempt on his life, and he's a guy who has a problem with rage, then you kind of understand if by the end of the movie, he realizes like someone is exploiting my poor qualities.
Yeah.
I need to de-escalate so we can actually make rational decisions. Then it makes sense like why he was in that position to begin with, because his anger is easy to exploit by a manipulative villain, but it's also something he can get past in the course of a movie. And he comes out the movie looking like less of an asshole because he has an arc.
Maybe you could couch it like this. He gives the order to kill Isaiah, but right before that, we saw him take a pill.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's being manipulated. Maybe in this version, the pill is gamma, but it's also, something to drive the rage too.
Yeah.
And so, you could almost have that moment
Beta
where
unblockers.
Yes. It's just steroids. That's it. It's just roid rage.
Caffeine pills.
Maybe you could couch it that way and have him where we're like, okay, yes, he ordered it, but kind of because he had taken that medicine, he ordered it, and the medicine was making him act out of character. He wanted to be better, but he took the medicine and the medicine made it impossible for him to be better. And then you still have those moments where he's like on the phone with Betty, like, I'd like to take you to the cherry blossoms. Like, do you want to do that? She says, yes, great. Then after the phone call's over, he takes a pill, right? So before that, not on a pill, he was happy. After the pill, you know, now we move into whatever. So I don't know, maybe you could play it that way, but like either way, I think you and I are putting more thought into this, like what the metaphor is and what it means and how it plays out logically in a story.
You know, storytelling.
Yeah. Than the 18 people did that wrote this film.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
That's why we're the best, and we should be hired more often by big studios.
This is our official pitch, Mr.
Yes.
Feige.
Yes.
We're going to remake this film.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's Captain America. Yeah, I don't know what's going on next week. So it'll be as much of a surprise to me as it is to you all listening now. So, okie dokie.
Okie dokie.
Goodbye. No cap.
No cap.
No cap.
Skibbity Hulk.
Skibbity. Skibbity Hulk.
Skibbity Hulk.
All right. Let me
What if that's what Ross became? He didn't become the Red Hulk. He became like the Gen Z Hulk.
Skibbity Hulk.
Skibbity Hulk. He's got his little broccoli hair going on. His latte.
He looks like one of the Monstars.
Yes. Oh man. Skibbity Hulk.